Hello, thanks for joining us for our fifth episode of the Cerulean Skies RPG podcast. This is a weekly podcast aimed at the myriad of RPG subjects that we here at Cerulean Skies are passionate about. And so these are aimed to be a mix of produced podcasting and live stream discussion. So we always encourage folks to engage with these talks, whether it be in the live chat on Twitch, in Discord, or through other aspects of social media. And if you have been watching the stream, you know that this is actually round two because we had some technical issues. So I'm your host, Joey, and today I'm joined by Seth
What's up?
and Frank,
What up, guys?
and we're stuck in a deja vu time loop because time is a flat circle. And because they're
Convoluted.
yeah, exactly. Because they're new contributors to the show, we're going to be talking about some of their favorite RPGs, which is something that we always do on this podcast, to try to get a feel for each other's preferences. And then we're also going to devote some of the podcast to talking about a subtopic, which will be the experience of playing classic RPGs in 2022. So basically, how we feel the games have quote unquote aged, which might be a loaded subject. How quality of life affects how we play these games, and the accessibility of older RPGs in general. And speaking of older RPGs in general, before we get started, let's hear a little bit about you guys. Like, what might the internet know you for? Like, Seth, I know you from the Esper Mansion.
Indeed. I run the whole server, and it is a server primarily based off of all of Phantasy Star, not any particular one, something that hasn't really been done before. And when it comes down to it, even though it's for all of Phantasy Star, it's kind of hard for you to find a better place on the internet for the original four turn-based classic RPGs for sake of communication and all information around them. Past that, you probably might have seen me on YouTube. When it comes to the boss fights from the first game all the way to Phantasy Star Online, I kind of have a monopoly on all the views for those. Otherwise, I'm kind of an enigma.
Until now, we're doxing
Dun dun
you.
dun. Oh no.
And Frank over here, we call him Classic RPG Frank. Is that
Yeah,
right?
They call me Classic RPG Frank around the wild west of the internet.
AKA
No,
NeoGaf.
Oh my god, fuck off. Anyway, hey, what's up, guys? My name's Frank. If you guys know me on this channel, chances are it's from Super RPG Friends, a show I do with Joey, John, and a rotating cast. I combined guest and cast into one beautiful, ultimately powerful word there.
Indigestion.
Yeah, but it's a show that we do weekly about RPGs once a week. It's a really good time. Other than that, I also work for Premium Edition Games, which is a physical game publisher. So we do like indie game publishing and shit like that. And also, I worked at a retro store for like a million years, so a lot of people know me from retro store life bullshit.
Yeah, and actually, there's a mutual connection here, in some way, shape, or form. So Frank, I know through Super RPG Friends, who every Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're still playing through Lunar right now. Gonna wrap that up soon. But for the better part of a year and a half, the lovely Frank and I, as well as our co-host John, uh, have been playing through older RPGs. So the whole like classic RPG thing, like however many air quotes as I use, it is kind of relevant here. And Seth, I know you because I joined a bunch of Fantasy Star Discords because we played through Fantasy Star 4 on Super RPG Friends. And I was joining a bunch of them and I was replaying the series. So I was like, "Oh, I want to talk about Fantasy Star with people, right?" So I found this dead Discord called the Fantasy Star Cave.
And I
And-
found you there, and I took you away.
right. Just gently guided me along, just waiting for my old wise sage Seth to free me from my bondage. But yeah, so that, and then you showed up for a couple of our Fantasy Star 4 streams. So
I did.
so thank you for that, and thanks for being
It was
here today.
quite a fun time. The craziness you guys did with their voicing was too much. I couldn't think of a better way to watch it to be just a country bumpkin.
I'm gonna have a hard time doing like any main character as not just Chaz's voice because it was so iconic and good. Like,
What do you mean?
Mhm.
What?
Yeah, no, it's like,
I
man.
can't believe it. I have to save the world.
So, the idea of like a pizza eating, dim witted JRPG protagonist was kind of a thing in the 90s and early 2000s, right? And I know that y'all some old heads. So let's talk a little bit about what some of your favorite JRPGs, or what better yet, like what about some like Chaz heads, right? Like any of your favorite RPGs have like a Chaz main character? And Frank, will start with you.
A Chaz main character. I'm trying to think. I don't really think a lot because like Chaz was such just like an airhead, and then a lot of my favorite RPGs, either the main character's a little bit more serious or they're like a mute. So
Seth, what about you, man? Any Chaz heads in your repertoire?
Unfortunately, my main thing for JRPGs has only been Phantasy Star. I haven't had a lot of experience, so the closest you get is Mario from Super Mario RPG. Don't
hell
think it
yeah.
really counts, but it kind of does because he's Mario.
Yeah,
There's
yeah, yeah.
nothing to him. He jump and he go.
And that's all you need. I mean,
Yeah,
like I'm not a big fan of the silent protagonist thing, but I will say that like Adol from the Ease series, kind
love
of
to
one of
get
my
into that.
favorites. Hey, dude, I don't know why I like him, man. Because he's not completely silent, right? Like he says stuff, and not like in a Mario gestures kind of way, but
Yeah,
like once in a while he'll say a word or two. That's not just Wahoo. I don't even think that's a word. I think that's onomatopoeia. Um, but yeah, yeah. But yeah, so not a big JRPG guy, but you are an RPG guy. I've just
very much so.
I've
Yeah,
definitely delineated this.
yeah. When
Um,
it comes down to that, I definitely do. With like the silent protagonist thing, I'll definitely always side with Link. I mean, I've got the boss keychain and everything.
hell yeah, Link Man, Link Main. We found the Link Main. But yeah, Seth, what are some of your
Finally.
favorite RPGs, man? Let's hear them.
Well, I mean, alongside Fantasy Star, my biggest long running one. I know everyone's gonna hate it because it is, but Pokemon, because
I
it's
love Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Oh,
Pokemon's great.
Pokemon's fun as hell. This is a
It's
Pokemon safe zone you're in right now, buddy.
a lot of people
You're with two
forget
people.
they forget it's an RPG, but it is. It is literally an RPG,
I,
and
I,
it's just been the childhood favorite. I got into it from childhood. It invaded my Beast Wars time slot at 6:30. I was so
Oh, I
pissed
remember
off.
that.
I didn't get to
Mm,
watch. I was like, "Where's Optimus Primal? Who's this kid in the red hat?" And then that
oh,
became
guy.
my mom's nightmare. Been playing it ever since, and it's always fun. I mean, I stopped with X and Y because they lost, I thought, sight of it, and then they immediately hooked me right back in with Alpha Sapphire. I've always been a huge fan of those ones, simply because it's just childhood. The game, you can't beat it.
hey. So wait, so what is your absolute favorite Pokemans then? What is the one?
It's Alpha Sapphire, simply because it's just unadulterated, just nostalgia to the highest maximum. I, I I think I cried for 30 minutes straight just out of pure nostalgia when I turned it on the first
I,
time.
I mean, I respect that, but I think I almost cried at the fact that that's your favorite Pokemon game.
Oh no, you don't like it?
No, man, I'm a noted hater of the Gen 3 remakes, and I Gen 3 is my favorite.
Gen 3 is
So,
my favorite too, but I have very personal reasons for why it was my favorite. It was the first Pokemon game I got to play with my sister, and ever since we had the opposite versions with each other. So having that again just reminded me of what childhood was all like and all the best parts about it. So I can't at all ever remotely hate it, even though it's still attached to X and Y's engine and everything.
yeah, and there's some fun nuggets in the chat there, Seth. You might want to take a look at those. You got a little roasted, and then you got a little softened.
Which one? Hold on.
Stormcast is getting going in.
Going in.
Which chat are we in then?
The Twitch chat. The Stormcasting
Oh, there
said
you go.
that
Okay, now I'm seeing it. Okay.
adult Ash Ketchum over here telling people that they're going to be shocked
I mean,
and
in
mad.
case you haven't noticed, I'm actually wearing Red's hat.
Yeah, no one noticed. Yeah, I never would have noticed. Thank you. And actually, I need to. This is not a American Eagle shirt. I realize that, like,
Are you
I realize
sure?
it's like after the fact, but like, this is no, it's not. It kind of looks like one from the top. I would never wear that. Anyway, Frank, what about you, man? What are some of your favorite RPGs?
I'm a dedicated Gears head, baby, and I don't
Love
mean
Gears of
that I'm
War.
like, yeah. I love shotgunning, sticking to them walls. No, Xenogears and Earthbound are probably my like two favorites that are always kind of going back and forth. Really depends which day you talk to me. Um, some of my other favorites, I'm real big, and this is because I just played the demo the other day for one of the games in the series, so it's in my head a lot. But like Star Ocean 2 is one of my favorites. Saga Frontier, a lot of the classic Super Nintendo ones that I grew up on. Final Fantasy 6, one of my favorites. Nine Tactics, like. I'm pretty easy going, but I definitely outside of like your normal Final Fantasies and stuff like that, I'd say like the Xenogears, Earthbound's still pretty, most people know of it, but like yeah, I'd say those are some of my favorite ones.
Hell yeah, and there's a lot of overlap between Frank and I, for
Yeah.
sure. There.
I mean, we can
Uh,
go all day if we're talking Xenoblade, at least. I still
yeah,
think it's
yeah.
the Saga and Gears, but when it comes to Blade, absolutely.
Oh, dude, when I was looking at the little thing for the podcast, and I was writing some of my stuff, I thought and I go, you know what? Xenoblade 3. That goes on this list too. I've thought about it enough. I think Xenoblade Chronicles 3 can enter into like my breadth of like my favorite RPGs of all time.
Hmm.
Chapter
You guys,
5,
so
though.
someone tell
Chapter
Takahashi
5.
he can.
Chapter
I'll send
5.
him. I'll sign something for him. I'll send it. He can display it in his office. Frank said it. Oh my God, Woodman FLG. I
Yeah,
can't believe it.
Takahashi, a noted follower of Super RPG Friends.
Wait,
He
really?
loves it.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
actually comes in our chat every week and asks when we're gonna play Xenogears, and we tell
You're
him
kidding.
not.
He's a-
No, I'm kidding, dude.
Oh,
Yeah,
man,
he
you had me
boosts.
going
He
for a
has a
second
boost
there.
in the Discord server. He's always gifting subs.
Yeah.
That's
Gifting
just
subs to the fans who may be lower than him, because he's a
the,
super
the
fan
first
to
the
us.
the first day I was addressed as Woodman Sama. I couldn't handle it. It was one of the most impactful moments of my life.
Yeah. Cool. I mean,
I mean, I'm not. I have Sega staff in my server, so it's
Hell
strange it's
yeah.
happened.
I
I managed to redefine the
oh no.
100% world record speed run for Lunar when we had the record holder on the show. I found, of course, I have it's totally a bit. I swear I don't have a gambling problem, but on the show, I sure do love to spend lots of time, money, and emotions on gambling and RPG games. So,
So been a fan of the Golden Saucer then.
oh yeah,
Hmm.
I can't wait. Our next game is Final Fantasy 7, and I can't wait to subject these guys to Frank Wood mini game mania. I'm gonna make a little picture for it and everything.
Did you
Joey will
like?
be mysteriously out that day.
Yeah. God, I feel really sick. I'm so sick. But that being said, do you like the mini games in Xenogears? The little card game?
I like the early parts of it, but then the ends of it where the game just like basically cheats. Yeah, it's not as fun, but like I feel like there's a lot more. Like I think the king of JRPG minigames is Breath of Fire as a series.
Oh yeah.
There are some absolute bangers, and I feel like they seamlessly just fit into like the general vibe and attitude of those games in the first place. But like some of the Xenogears mini games are a lot of fun. I mean, like everyone's favorite, rock paper scissors, just a
Oh, that
pure
one's
game of
extremely innovative.
unfiltered chance. So much. It's really a classic one.
So Seth,
Um,
a common thing that happens in the beginning of Xenogears 1 is that there's an NPC with whom you play rock paper scissors, and if you beat him, I think is it 5 times in a row, Frank?
yeah,
5.
5 times in a row.
You have to beat him
Is his
5 times.
first name Alex?
No.
Last name Kid? No.
No. No, he's just like right in the first town, and a common thing that people often do when they first play Xenogears is that they make a save right there and spend like 3 hours trying to beat him 5 times in a row because if RNG is not on your side, Lord help you, and you get an item that can be traded up for better items later in the game. So for completion,
Like
it's
way fucking
way
later
later. Yeah,
too. Like way fucking later.
Sounds
and
like Takahashi.
yeah, which
It
has kind
sounds like
of
Takahashi.
been filtered out a little bit of the more
Yeah.
recent games, at least especially
Thankfully.
Blade 3.
Thankfully.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
better or worse. Um, I mean, I
Remember those
think
two in Blade 1? Remember, like, get some girlfriends and hang out with them. Me and Ryan, what the hell are you talking about? We know, don't worry, it's okay. Come back 30 hours later, you'll be fine.
right, and one had all those missable quests, and then
Yeah.
2 has the actual gambling with gotchas, blades, and stuff, and 3
Yeah,
is pretty tame on
I skipped that one. Yeah, big time. Hard pass.
that. What, you don't like giant balloon anime titty
Nah, nah,
women?
nah. I kind of played it for the story and not that. And
And
yeah, that was.
sadly, the 4 million or 3 million Xenoblade 2 sales or whatever probably may not agree with you on that, but I'm with you,
I still
Seth, and
like
that's all that
I
matters.
still like the game. It's just I ignored that part.
Yeah,
Hard.
same. Uh, so a lot of sort of older RPGs in this list here, which is very topical for this evening. So I just played through Diofield Chronicle. I scrimblowed it. And
You? No.
no, yeah, no. What a shock. But I'm also concurrently playing Valkyrie Profile 1. And so that game juxtaposed with Diofield Chronicle is insane because it's like this incredibly unique Valkyrie Profile being this incredibly unique game, and then Diofield being like the idea, the thought concept of a unique game that's not at all. So, so one thing I
I
have
know,
to,
dude. It made me sad reading your tweets today. I was like, oh, I wanted it to be a little bit better than it turned out to be. Apparently.
yeah, and hey, you know what? I don't want to be a hater. Your mileage may vary greatly here. You might like it a
It's
lot more
just
than I do, but
Beans on Toast, the video game. That's all.
I mean, it is.
God.
It's White Island. The whole island is just all white people, and it's
Oh
it's the
no!
UK.
The Dragon Age problem?
The dragon.
Oh
But
yeah.
dude,
Bro, think about it.
so speaking of
Julie just
Dragon
played
Age,
through the whole series.
oh lord. Speaking of Dragon Age, though, this is a good segue. Seth, any Western RPGs that really stick out to you?
Western RPGs. Not that I can continue playing. At least that's one of them, and I dropped it. Yeah, because I didn't think Western RPGs would have JRPG mechanics where you could soft block it from not doing something right. Yeah, I tried to.
WRPGs are definitely like the king
Yeah,
of like being able to just kind of fuck yourself over, especially if they got a little bit of that immersive sim
yeah.
DNA in it.
I got stuck in I think whatever the hell their mages portion is, the Dragon Age game. I there was no possible way that I could have ever gotten past that point with whatever level I was at. The boss was just two-shotting me. And I don't even think it was a boss, it was a normal enemy. And this is like 5 hours into the game. Yeah, I kind of noped the hell out of that. I mean, when it comes to turn-based, there really aren't. But when it comes to regular RPGs, um, there's not really that many I can think of. Action adventure always. Like Horizon Zero Dawn's great for me, but that's not really an RPG. Trying to think. No, there really isn't that many that like aren't like Dutch. It's
Yeah,
just like The Witcher and then
right.
Bethesda.
Oh,
You don't.
Eurojank, delicious.
Euro.
I love it.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
There,
isn't The Witcher
there's one.
Polish?
Yeah, it's Polish Dutch.
Uh,
The
oh.
one that I do like though is the predecessor, and it's technically not an RPG. It's technically a text adventure, Wasteland, the origin for Fallout. I've always loved the original. I always loved the original. Never really cared for Fallout, but I loved Wasteland because it's a text adventure, but you actually have RPG mechanics in it. It was fun.
Wait,
It was
did
pretty.
you play the first 2 Fallout games?
No, I didn't play those. I know they're more
Oh,
similar to
so good.
Wasteland,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I only touched 3. I smelled New Vegas, and I know
Stinky?
I have 4. Well, I mean, it's like it looks really cool. I want it, but that would require me to play it. So, like
God,
I
I
should
fucking love New Vegas, dude.
I like
Like,
as much as I want to get into, like, there's so much of it that's really good. Like the dialogue and all the crazy, stupid, maniacal crap you can do, and all the really fleshed out voice options. The problem is though, is you still have to play a Bethesda game to do it,
Yeah, I
and
feel that.
which is an
that's like trying to
undertaking.
fire your nails with a rusty nail. It's
Well, luckily for you,
painful.
New Vegas is not a Bethesda game completely.
Yeah, but it's not
Yeah.
it has the smell though, so I kind of hate it.
Yeah.
I threw it away because I have so much other crap I gotta do.
All right, everyone, well, we you know, we've been talking about the scent a lot, so we're gonna premiere the newest Cerulean Skies feature, Smell-O-Vision. on the podcast,
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone.
Well, no, see, my
Just
big
take
thing.
a good inhale, the smell of Bethesda wafting into your nostrils.
God, I know what that smells like, man. That sucks.
Yeah, it's
But,
like kind of wet, mildewy.
Yeah, God,
It's a
dude.
cinnamon roll.
Well, it's like whenever whenever I make something with a lot of garlic, which is often, and I put it in the fridge, right? Like it's gonna make my fridge smell a little bit like garlic. And I love garlic. I
Mhm.
love things with it. It's not like the food itself is bad, but when you have this smell of like cold leftover garlic in your fridge, it's not good. So I understand why that would taint your experience of
It's like
New Vegas for sure.
it's like you have so much there, but then you can look at its competitors and like, why would I play this? Why would I play Skyrim when I had Dragon's Dogma right there? It's so much more complete.
I like Dragon's Dogma a lot though.
Like, why would I play that when I got this? That's just all the Bethesda things have this really good idea, and they just kind of just flatline it. It's just monotone. There's nothing
Mhm.
selling it, and you have all
I
those
don't
really
know.
cool points.
You have to put some time into Morrowind and come back and tell me that and say it with your chest.
See, everyone tells me about Morrowind.
Morrowind, that's my
eventually.
jam. For WRPGs, that'll always be. I got so many good memories of like playing on the fat Xbox, sitting in my fucking room, like eating some Cheetos and listening to like specifically System of a Down, the Mesmerize and Hypnotize albums. I would listen to those on repeat and just play Morrowind, and like I still can't like I can't hear those albums without like thinking of the route to get like the Daedric katana within like 5 minutes.
So I have a very big sensory memory with at the drive-ins in Casino Out and Sparta's Wiretap Scars and PSO for GameCube. So I understand that like there's such I have so many like tactile memories of like I could taste the music, brother.
Yeah. No,
while
I
playing.
it's you could say that with anything, and like especially with Phantasy Star Online. You step into Raggle, and you feel it's perfect, but there's also just something wrong. You can just hear it. You can feel it within the music itself.
Okay, so this is probably a shared experience. Don't you guys love it when you're just randomly like watching a YouTube video and someone uses one of the sounds from like the auto messages in PSO?
Yes.
One of
Oh,
the
yeah.
emoji.
I mean,
Like, you're just sitting there and then you hear the like the shrink. You're just like, what the fuck? And like then you just start thinking about red boxes dropping and Delro Lee sub level 20. All kinds of shit just like starts flooding into your fucking brain. Like,
And who carries sub 20? So wait, sub 20 is really high for Del Rey. What?
yeah, I just picked the number.
But
listen,
at that point.
Listen, solo RA cast Delro Lee is not easy in those low points. Before you have anything, I remember when I was a kid trying to kill that thing with like a rifle by myself, severely underleveled.
life
And
is hard.
It was
There you
rough
go.
fucking
He was
shit.
ranging by himself.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
low level. He was trying to use a rifle, and he didn't have a shotgun. He probably rolled the lowest level of RNG he could possibly. He made it all the way to
wasn't
Fowls, and
good.
he still couldn't kill him because none of the boxes had a shot for him.
Well, my level 200 like legit RA cat, the one that grew on to be, that was a Pinkle.
Yeah, you love to see it.
So I was just getting staffs all day. And the thing is that his name was Deuce, and I did it all lowercase, Deus. And if you made the D
Deus?
uppercase, yeah, Deus. If you made it uppercase, it was fucking Greeno. One
Yeah.
fucking capitalized letter to like a
They have
fucking wand section
actual
ID.
pertinent
Yes.
drops.
Yes. Oh my god. I'll never forget all that time later. And at this point, the character was already like level 150 when I found out about it. And I was just like, well, I guess I made I made a Greenel Force. And I was just like, they'll just trade items, whatever. Like, fuck it.
Man, I feel like
Exactly.
that's like something like an analogy for somebody who's like slightly out of their element, like a Pinkle Ranger, you know, or a Greenhill Force.
Yeah.
That's I mean, I
Or
love
Skyly Ranger. Well, actually, that could help them somewhat.
yeah, Scott. Yeah, it's not the worst. That's not the worst. But speaking of PSO and Fantasy Star, Seth, because you run Esper Mansion, you were going to do something special related to Fantasy Star, right? A special announcement. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I do. I was gonna make a website, but it's gonna be a bit different than every other website. It's gonna have literally everything. Everything. Every drop chart. Every single bit of lore. All the fashion from the new games. Everything corroborated. Multiple languages. And all forms of translated media like the Spec and Futabasha magazines.
Oh, that's
Dedicated galleries for music, fan games, everything. All in one place. Everyone likes to fracture Fantasy Star, and you kind of notice at the mansion, I've been making it so that people aren't fractured. And now I'm going to actually make it so it's permanent. Everything is going to be available on one website, and I'm going to start development next year.
Hell
I already
yeah,
have
awesome.
a whole team and everything. I've been getting them all together, and I already have multiple backings. I have all the private servers. They're also going to probably end up helping me with their drop charts. I already have full backing from Shitserve and everything. Yeah, it's going to be pretty useful. I don't think anyone's going to have it anyone else but my place. You don't get bump.org, PSO World, nothing. Everything's going to be there.
Especially for like not those like the RPGs at the front of like the public consciousness, because we discovered, we went from doing like for Super Nintendo we did Earthbound, Chrono Trigger, and Super Mario RPG, finding like assets and maps and transparent sprite, all that kind of shit was so easy. And then we moved on to Sega, and like it was a whole
nuts.
It's crazy how either incomplete or just flat out non-existent a lot of content for some of these.
So much of Fantasy Star likes to break itself away. They love to just. I only like 4. I only like PSO.
Yeah.
I only like PSU. They suck. NTS sucks. Who cares? Who cares? SMT fans hate each other. Like SMT fans and Persona fans loathe each other, but they both agree. They both agree. We can have a website that has everything. We won't hate each other there. And you can type in literal words, and you'll get every single song, the lyrics, who said that damn word, all. And that's just on a Wikia. That's not even on a dedicated website.
Yeah.
So you have all this together. Like, it's flabbergasting on a day-to-day basis, considering all the Fantasy Star servers are in. It's nuts. How often I hear people saying, do I feed this to that mag? PSO World didn't say that, but these guys said that. They have to cross-reference 3 websites just to get the same information in the one game.
So it's crazy with that, because like, okay, so like when I talk about like Premium Edition, we have a game called Robot Named Fight that we did, and it's like a roguelike, and there's a lot of, when it comes to roguelikes, a lot of that's like player information is key. We do with our big, like our deluxe, we actually do like a full strategy guide. And it was crazy actually getting to sit with the developer and be like, hey, here's the stuff that it says on the wiki. Is this accurate? And he's like, literally not even close. Like, they're completely wrong. They're off base. And I just never was like, I'll tell him. So it makes you think about when you see a lot of this information that it's like, how correct is this? Or is it stuff that people just kind of like assume?
Yeah.
I'm really excited for Fantasy Star Without Borders.
Yeah. Well,
That's
see, that's another thing. That's another fun thing too. Is that it's not like you have the classic stuff. Like even like with Pokemon, like use strength on the truck and you'll get Mew. Like that was from Oak lying to you through a strategy guide. But you have this in real time, just from the fans alone. There's like at least 30,000 individual new fan translations for Phantasy Star 4,
Hmm.
and because of that, you have at least 30 individual theorizations for what the hell even is the profound darkness, or
yeah.
what the hell is a monomate? Is it a calorie mate? Is it a burger?
Mm.
Dude, I
So
already want to
we'll even
fucking
get.
replay that goddamn game already. Like, we just finished Phantasy Star 4, and I honestly have, like, already considered playing that fucking game again with one of the different translations or something. Such a good one, man.
And well, okay, so not to. Okay, I'm just using this as an example. I'm not talking myself up because I don't actually. I'm not behind the back end of this. But for ease, we have digital MLS. I work as the community manager for them. I run the Discord and do a couple editing and copy editing things. And so that site is very comprehensive in a similar kind of way. I still think it's not quite to the level of like open borders as you're suggesting, which is
Yeah.
awesome. But it's close, and I do so. I feel like your problem, not you personally, but I
Yeah.
feel like Fantasy Star's problem in general is that it's a boomer Sega RPG, right
Only the
there,
PSO and
already
the original
cursed.
ones. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and
see,
and you're
that's the
always going to
thing.
get people who are very, very, very particular about what they think Fantasy Star is and what it should be, and it's just like, bro, just
It
fucking
won't matter.
chill.
It
Yeah.
won't matter. That's what the whole mansion is. It's neutral. Just like the actual mansion.
Mm.
There is no violence. There's nothing. It's just Phantasy Star. You love it. If you don't, there's the door. That's
Yeah.
simple.
Hell yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
You're not in the right place. So with all that in mind, yeah, I know there's gonna be pushback, but that's kind of why I took a while to get a specific team that's behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's awesome,
It's
man.
it's kind of hard to separate. I know the PSO boomer syndrome. Like
Hmm.
it's so easy. And then you got the guys on the other side. What the hell are these old folks talking about? Why can't they just fashion it up? Like, why can't you guys just
PSOBS.
just play the game? God,
Just play the games and
fun.
like, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, there's always going to be stuff that you don't like, right? I
yeah,
mean, and I think that Sega IPs in general are very symptomatic of this, and
yeah.
just fans of this. So like, we were talking about Lunar earlier, and we're playing through Lunar right now too. And I've kind of been sort of branching out and going into different communities and trying to like reach out to people and like talk to, because whenever I get into a series or revisit it, I love doing the eating a sausage while having a Wikipedia page open about what sausage is at the same time. I love immersive I don't know, data. I don't fucking know. But like, so either way, I'm like kind of like going through a couple Lunar Discords and forums and stuff. And dude, it's like they don't want people to get into the
Yeah, they
series.
don't. Yeah, it's a
The
huge problem with
Lunar
that.
is hard to like. I think Lunar has probably been the hardest, least populated community for any game that we've done for the show so far. It was almost like it was a little bit harder to like make assets and find like
Yeah,
guests and stuff like that for that game with that it's almost like it was almost maybe like, oh well, we need to try to not go that niche, good lord. But like it's always good to hear people trying to help those smaller game communities out and stuff like that are so segregated across the internet in various different places, different websites and everything, and wanting to put together an all in one space for it, an all inclusive space for the franchise as a whole is especially commendable. That kind of stuff's really cool, and I'm excited to see it.
All right, this is
it's
gonna.
how
Sorry, go ahead, Seth.
it's just easier when you take the same level of hatred and you fight back with the exact same level of logical decline.
Yeah.
Like Fantasy Star 3 is the black sheep. It sucks. Where in the definition of the idiom black sheep does it say suck? Go on. Where? Where does it say it sucks? It doesn't. It's different. That doesn't mean it sucks. That's all you gotta do is just you're wrong, and here's why.
Yeah, and I feel like, having a neutral source like that does kind of circumvent a little bit of that. So this way, it's like, you're not having any object or abject bias, right? Like,
Yeah, you can't. It's just you're here for this. If you can't agree to be here for this, you're not in the right place. Leave.
right, exactly.
It's stonewalled.
Mhm.
It's almost like it's a mansion of neutrality.
I see what you did there. And this is gonna sound really fucking corny, but I have to. There's like a weird. There's like I have a cultural, I guess, analogy to this, and it's my own, and it's like, my own culture is in complete diaspora. We don't have a nation. Assyrians are across the world, but we don't have our own little thing, and a big part of that is because people have very specific sects or groups have very specific ideas of what they think our culture should be, and it prevents a kind of mosaic, and it creates kind of it's hard to stitch a mosaic when the pieces don't match, right? Or like they're not even nobody is willing to try to thread the seams. And like, I mean, I'm kind of saying this kind of as a joke, but like it is similar to that with a lot of fans of people too. Like, I mean, JRPG diaspora, man. I mean, you have the boomers, you have the zoomers, and across any franchise that has been around for years, and even some that haven't, even Xenoblade is incredibly divisive if you just look at that as a sub
1 to 2.
Right. And it kind of sucks. Like, I think you see a lot of this with Fire Emblem, really bad with Fire Emblem.
Yeah, extremely.
Big time.
Really bad with SMT. I think the most dire one is Shining, though, dude. Poor Shining. Like, that poor community. That, oh man, like that. And
they deal with a lot.
yeah, they're dealing with a lot, and it's like a lot of times you can't really blame some people because a lot of your experience with games is, I mean, with any fucking piece of media, it's subjective, right? Like, you're going to have a very directed, specific approach and bias to things because you're a human being, and that's just, how it works when you tie emotion into enjoyment, right?
Yep.
And I think, like, no matter what happens, there's always going to be a preference or some kind of tribalism that happens.
It's part you have to actively think about to get over.
Yeah, and it's like I feel like positing something in a neutral zone really helps that. Because...
I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. Like, I originally thought, yeah, PSO2 sucks. It's too anime. What the hell is this crap? This isn't PSO. But then I played it and I'm like, yeah, it is really fucking anime. But it's actually still really fucking good. Like, whoa, holy crap. It's cool. This is great. It's different, but it's still the same. It's great. You have to purposely go out of your way to change the way you think, and then also actively use that changing so you can allow everyone to enjoy it, and also let them also not enjoy it simultaneously.
Yep.
You have to put yourself in the back seat and understand what neutrality means from the get-go to truly actually have a sense of community.
And I really want to address this comment that Kayak made in the chat. They said a lot of nostalgia just comes from how the game made us feel when we played it as a child. Yes.
Very true.
100%. And the operative word that you said in that sentence is child, right? And it's very easy to take something that you grew up with because it's special to you and because it's emotional to you and say, this is fucking amazing as I played it when I was a kid. You see this really bad with 90s RPGs. And I love 90s RPGs. I built this podcast on that concept, right? But at the same time, it's very easy to get stuck in the weeds of like, oh, this is the best of it. This is how they don't make them like this anymore, And yeah, there's some logic to that. But I feel like, and I talked a little bit about this before on Twitter and on Discord and stuff, but like the whole concept of sticking to nostalgia and that being your guiding light. And I mean, not saying that that's like, I'm not like criticizing or judging that concept, but if it's your only thing that you look at stuff through, you're looking through it like kind of like a very tinted psychology, right? Like, what is nostalgia?
Rose-tinted glasses.
Rose-tinted glasses, yeah. I mean, what is nostalgia? Like, there's a lot of like anhedonic properties of nostalgia. A lot of things that correlate with depression.
That's a great point.
So
I mean, that's a great point because that's what happened to me with PSO and with other games, but they reversed themselves. Like, perfect example for me, my first beat 'em up I ever played was Power Rangers by Natsume for the Super Nintendo.
oh,
Absolutely
that game
amazing game.
rules
Yeah,
actually. Yeah.
it's awesome. So like saying like it's awesome. So it took a while to get back. Like Power Rangers is fucking dumb. So I bought it again. I bought it again recently. I'm like, no, I was right as a kid. This game's fucking amazing. The soundtrack's awesome. Kinuyoru Yamashita and Yuki Iwai, Mega Man X2, and original Castlevania, they composed this crap. The first theme, City, it slaps beyond all comparison. What the hell? It's just the classic beat 'em up. But then I had the same thing. I played Hot Wheels, Crash Racing or whatever on the N64 by Electronic Arts. I bought it again. Oh my god, it plays like ass. Same deal with Velocity X and the GameCube. I had so much fun playing it with my sister as a kid. It's so bad. It's just absolutely intrinsically made for children. There's no enjoyment afterwards. However, with Phantasy Star, I wasn't able to poke holes on the individual lore and how absolutely diverse it was and how unbearably convoluted it was. I just went through it looking at Rico and all this stuff. I'm like, wow, this fucking sucks. And now as an adult, I'm like, wow, this really fucking sucks. You get to experience more, but at the same time, you have to be able to understand that there are blockades you make from yourself because of that rose tintedness and the childhoodness of it, the childishness. It's puerile, but that's part of its fun. You have to mix nostalgia with, progressiveness to actually get all this out of going and forward. That's why I like with Persona. I mean, I'm gonna shit on it, unfortunately.
No, go for it, man.
I love Persona 5. I love Persona 5. Persona 5 was amazing. I'm not going to spoil it again because I know how sacred it is for a lot of people. But at that very end point, near towards the end of Persona 5, where they have that twist, what the fuck was that? And like they knew that it was going to throw you for a loop, so they spent the next 30 minutes explaining to you what the hell they just did to you. And I was like, wow. So then I went back played Persona 4. I'm like, this is Persona 5, but not as fun.
Wait, hold on.
So I played Persona 3. It's like, this is Persona 4 as well, but even less fun. Did they really do the same thing twice in a row, but they just perfected it with 5?
Okay, yes, but that's okay. Yes.
Yeah.
But so that was your first Megami Tensei experience?
That Persona 5 was my first Megami Tensei experience, yes.
Okay, so that explains. So what a lot of people I don't know, I feel like this concept gets lost in Mega 10 discussion.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a series as iterative as Megami Tensei. And I'm using that as a big word, big umbrella. Almost every Megami Tensei entry is iterative. That's why there's so many sequels of the spin-offs and blah blah blah. But
Dancing.
that kind of concept of subversion existed in since pretty much SMT1, right? You can even argue that it was in Digital Devil Story, in the novels too. But regardless, that's been a thing for a while. So I get it though. Like going back and being like, oh, like retroactively working your way in reverse order through Persona is weird. Like I
get it.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I keep hearing so much about this rose tintedness that they all shit on 5 because it's not 3, and 3 is the second coming of Christ. And I'm trying to think of like 3.
It's edgy. It's edgy.
It was edgy, and I appreciate that. But unfortunately, it was also incomplete and not that edgy because they didn't really develop anything.
Yeah, I mean, 3 was very much that was like the big transition between past Atlas and modern Atlas. So you saw a lot of different kind of stuff. I mean, I love 3 personally, and I love 5, and I think 5 is way better than 4 personally. But
because Ryuji's just better than Kanji.
I agree, and 5 might be vanilla, but at least it doesn't like overtly like insult the audience's intelligence as much as 4 does. But anyway,
I didn't like that either.
So I don't want to get on my Persona 4 soapbox because it is a spicy soapbox. But I still love Persona 4. I love all the games. But I think that like when you talk about this kind of stuff, I think this does lead into our subtopic, which is like, how do you enjoy classic games now? And so I guess I'll lead this sort of off because Frank, I was talking to you a lot about this when I was playing it, and I mentioned this 7,000 times in this podcast, but I just played through Xenogears, and and Seth, you haven't played it, so
Not
I
yet,
think
no.
this is even more topical. That game could be a really hard sell for people, even if you're well acquainted with boomer RPGs. There's just a lot of things about it, UX wise, that could be very frustrating. It's sort of obtuse. It's what I like to call a player's guide game.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
you know,
you're gonna have the Prima ready.
right? I mean, maybe not as bad as like, nowhere near as bad as like something like 100%ing Persona 3 or something like that, but
Oh,
it can be pretty um it can be pretty daunting. And I was going to toss this question to Frank before he stood up. Um
Here, I was grabbing my Xenogears guide.
oh,
Like you
okay, yeah,
said.
he's going to reference it. Hey, there it
This
is.
yeah. You know why you know how you can tell that it's a fucking player's guide game? Because this is like an $80 player's guide now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I have mine in my room somewhere, and that guide is like a really interesting read, but I think
Wrong a
it's
bunch too.
wrong a bunch, yeah. I called, we've dunked on the Saga Frontier guide on here a few
Oh my
times,
god,
but
yeah, I have that too.
I think I
Bad.
referred to it today as a gospel of lies, so I'm gonna stick with that. But Frank, like, how? And this is really important for you, dude, because I feel like you just played through 6 boomer RPGs on stream, right? So when it comes to playing older or classic RPGs, like, what really helps you get into that mindset, even if you may have a tolerance for it?
I feel like so one of the biggest things that I've noticed going through these older ones compared to like playing modern ones, and this is something that I honestly think having the opportunity to be playing um old boomer RPGs and more modern ones at the same time, I notice a lot like the in modern RPGs how a lot of people like a lot of the towns and stuff you'll like move close to crowds and they'll like say something and stuff like that without you having to do it. In these older games, especially we're playing Lunar right now, it is imperative that you talk to every single fucking person like multiple times. There's so much direction that is just like word of mouth, and like bringing it back to like Morrowind. It's the difference between having a waypoint marker and having to open up a quest thing and read like follow towards the sun setting in the west, go over the hill and go west at the dragon skull. You know, those older RPGs, they did not really hold your hand at all in terms of like direction and stuff like that. They really expected you to not really be taking breaks from it, like, because now we have RPGs that knows that a lot of us who grew up on RPGs are busy now. We might not get to play that much. You
you
load
got
the
the
game up
Chronicle
and it's
on
like,
a lot of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
last time on Dragon Ball Z, you
Yeah.
get one of those. um I'd say that just that the way that information, especially information regarded to progression, is given to you, the player, is one of the biggest differences. And in turn, playing older RPGs, you really got to realize how important it was that you really talk to everyone and really try to hold on to everything that's told to you rather than just kind of like taking it and a lot of games now you can just like kind of breeze through stuff without holding on to every single little bit of information. But not you're gonna have a hard time if you don't do that in older RPGs, but even more important than that, B, you're gonna have a better time. There's a lot more thought put into the atmosphere and story stuff given in like talking to towns and stuff like that. It's kind of a double-edged sword. That there's some good things about the way that like NPC interactions and stuff are done good in modern games, but then at the same time it's nice that the game expects you to really embrace its atmosphere, story, and setting in the older ones in order to progress. It's almost like your level of progression is directly tied to how much you're willing to immerse yourself in the world and culture you're sat in.
Oh, yeah, that's such a good point, and that brings me to. I'll throw this to Quest. Almost call. I don't know why I called you
Mustache
Quest, Seth. Yeah, Seth Quest 64, the worst man. But I'll put this in your that's like your alt history alter ego. I'll throw this in your wheelhouse a bit though, because I mean you have, and the chat was memeing about this, but like
Advanced.
yeah, like
And
you have,
and in modern games to old, you mean?
right, and like I mean, in Phantasy Star, you have the whole like you got to talk to NPCs who tell you something cryptic. The Desolicians, is that how you say it? Desolician,
I've always called them
I
Dezolians.
I've
Desolians,
lumped
yeah.
that word
Yeah.
every single time on stream. I said it.
Well-
Like somebody needs a super clip of me mispronouncing every planet and race in that.
Almost purposely, yeah.
Like it just, yeah, God.
But like, because Seth, you didn't you say that like you kind of started playing like the older Fantasy Stars like a little bit more
I did.
recently?
I played them. I played the entire franchise with the exception of PS2 onwards in the entirety of 2013. From the end of
Oh,
from
wow.
like November November 2012, and I finished around September of 2013. And having not really played that many old school RPGs, Phantasy Star kind of was my original ones. So I can say with pretty amazing, unbiased explaining and just from the 1 to 4 thing, how you can do something great, fuck it up, and then make it even perfect afterwards. Phantasy Star 1, despite being like effectively one of the quintessential first JRPGs ever, had a perfect understanding of conveyance using the talk to everyone thing. If you experiment, you get rewarded for it. Now, a lot of the old school games nowadays, they did that to screw you because they wanted you to get your money's worth.
Right,
they fit so much.
Yes.
Perfect example was
yes.
Zelda. You had to bomb literally every fucking space, and maybe one time that bomb would blow up and enter a new dungeon. That's so much fun. Why would you not want to do that? Or in Metroid 1, Metroid 1, where you have to willingly go out of your way to kill yourself to find fake lava. That is the reverse. That is the worst form of fake any form of conveyance. It's reverse conveyance. It's bad game design because they kept that in Zero Mission.
Okay, wait. Hold on. I need to stop you for a second because I think this brings up a really good point. So, yes, when you look at it through that lens, yes, 100%, I am in complete agreement with you. But remember, this is the 80s. You know, a big part you touched on a little bit of it where you said they wanted you to get your money's worth. The Simon's Quest thing, kneeling down and that kind of shit, obtuse cryptic stuff.
Yeah.
That being said, I mean, a lot of that is technologically limited. You know, it was because of the time, and we were trying to figure it out, and they were trying to do that, and so like it's something that like you kind of even nowadays you see this kind of obtuse progression for sure.
Well, that's where I focus tremendously on what makes a game good is through conveyance. It develops great game design. If you don't have to hold the player's hand, but also still through the game itself explain to you what's necessary, you've developed a tremendous understanding of what makes people want to do what they want to do. Phantasy Star 2 took everything that Phantasy Star 1 did and threw it in the dumpster. They said, conveyance doesn't mean anything. We only have 2.5 months to make this game. Let's just make it look cool. They did. It's just really grindy and painful. I enjoyed the hell out of that. And then they eased it about a bit. They made the dungeons bare bones as shit with 3. But then they flipped it around and they explained everything through a cohesive narrative. Didn't hold your hand at all. And Phantasy Star 4 then became one of the best JRPGs ever devised by human beings.
Yeah,
At no point did you need a tutorial to do any of that. The only thing that was left to crypticness and vague ambiguity was combo techniques.
Yeah,
you guys even looked it up on your own stream to figure out how to use death.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So that in itself, it's kind of like I'm a bit biased in that one. It's kind of its own reward. Like, how the hell did I do that? I want to do that again. That was cool. I just killed everything in one go. That was cool.
Right, it's
Well, that
emergent though.
yeah,
It's emergent. You discovered by experimenting, and a lot
exactly.
of it is like stuff that you have to sort of uh, look at a bunch of data and parse what it actually does. Because you have the spell. The example is always the spell names of Fantasy Star, right? They're
Yeah,
always kind of strange. And even in PSO that has like a UI that's pretty detailed, it has two
yeah,
tooltips. There's still a lot of dynamic stuff that doesn't really get explained, right?
yeah.
Like,
You
uh,
usually the guess on the icon alone, and even the description is kind of vague. Like you had no idea that Guy Foey would become really useful in PSO only after it reached level 15.
right, or like stuff like Zonde affecting, and just for people who haven't
Yeah,
played Fantasy Star, like Zonde is the lightning skill, and maybe that seems intuitive that lightning would be strong. Oh, thank you for what is that? The follow. Hey. Um, but even though it might be intuitive that like lightning is good against machines,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
But it doesn't. The tooltips never say, "Oh, this will stun robots," and
So,
so
but
like
yeah,
it's something that you have to sort of figure out by your own, but it's enough of it is explained to get a baseline idea. And so,
Like,
sorry, go ahead, Frank.
I'm sure somewhere in 4, like I'm sure one of the fucking townspeople in one of the like many, you go to a lot of like places of like education or research in that game, but like I'm sure one of them motherfuckers are like, they say if you combine techs you can form a brand new one, but it's one of those
Right.
things that's
yeah,
it's like said offhandedly, but at the same time, like you said, that's that's rewarding the player. That's like Final Fantasy 2 tried to do that to its own dismay with the whole keyword system.
Okay, wait, hold on. I
Like
got a challenge for Mr. Super Metroid posters in the background. Let's talk about how to explain game mechanics without the Super Metroid example challenge. Can we do it? Can we do it?
well, that was Metroid and Zero Mission, so Super Metroid doesn't even matter in that one.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
But the crux of that though, and what he's getting at is that's unfortunately divisive, and that is human bias. Always split it because you will. That is like the very median where you have perfect conveyance, and the I want to just experience it. I don't want to experiment. I just want to. You'll always have that small divide
yeah,
where you will never get to perfection, where the
some
conveyance
people
is
don't
so
want to
perfect.
immerse.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
don't.
some
They
Yeah,
people
yeah.
just
just
they
don't
just
want
want to
to
be.
immerse.
They unfortunately do want their hand to be held. So there's always going to be this endless pandering between two sides. You can't really do anything about it. Like you can explain the whole thing, you'll piss off the boomers. You won't explain shit, you'll piss off the newcomers.
Hmm.
Like you get that like crazy median where like Dark Souls, like God,
You gotta have an
challenging.
easy mode. You gotta have an easy mode.
Yeah, you get that too, but there's like, but I want to play it because I want to be destroyed. Like Mega Man's been doing that for decades already. What the fuck are you talking about? It's the same crap. Just learn the patterns. You can't really you can't perfectly manage to meet the wanting to experiment and feel that reward from the risk reward system to the same kind of people that do have that 9 to 5 job and only so much time after hanging out with their kids. They just want to sit the fuck back and
Yeah.
just let the
Some
story
people can only
exist.
play like an RPG, like once a week. That's
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
like that's
And
why
that's
we've
yeah.
had the evolution of the like the chronological. Last time on the last time you played
Yeah,
this happened
Dragon Ball,
kind
yeah.
of stuff, which is awesome. Like
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of accessibility there that helps with that for sure, right? But at the same time, it's like if I know I have trouble reading a book for for longer than 200 pages, which is not true, but let's just pretend that it is. I'm not gonna read something like War and Peace or the 100 Years of Solitude, because those books are very dense and there's something that I have to pay a lot of attention to over a long period of time. So, like, if I know that that's not me and I don't have time to do that, I'm not going to do it. I don't expect 100 Years of Solitude to fully explain every person's name and reiterate every person's name every time six dudes with the same name with one letter off, like start getting involved. And so it's like,
are you
I
talking about fucking Elden Ring where everyone's named God something?
yeah. Yeah.
Godfrey? No, Godfrey.
Yeah, or Mel or Ma or
But I bring up this topic a lot because I think it's really interesting, and I don't think that there's like a right or a wrong answer for it. But one thing I'm starting to get on this agenda ship that games, the idea of games aging well is bullshit. I'm starting to think,
Somewhat, yeah, I agree, but also disagree.
yeah, and I'm not like fully on board, like I'm like, I'm like kind of stepping on. I don't know if I want to
No,
bring
he's
my
playing with the
bag
idea.
over.
He's playing with it.
Yeah, but like I
He
think
might take a holiday, check it out, look at
right.
some of the houses.
And I bring this up because I think Fantasy Star is always a really good talking point for this kind of subject because of its obtuseness and some of its crypticism and etc. But like yes, games have changed considerably. Yes, that's because of technological limitations. It's because criticism, because developers made something that pissed people off. People talked about it, said, "Hey, this is a problem." You have knowledge, aka theory, game theory. You just the words like bad or good game design.
But
You can
that's
say that.
just a theory.
But that is just a theory, folks. Here on the Cerulean Skies Podcast Network, we do not actually condone the law of game design. It's
That's
merely
going to
a
be
theory.
on next week.
But yeah, no, I think it's bullshit because that being said, I don't think that everyone has time or patience for games, and nor should you have to reorganize your life to play Dragon Quest 1 on the NES or Dragon Warrior as we know it in the US, or something like, oh, I should have to write everything down just to get through some maze that actually is never really explained super well because the Loke team was like because the Loke team was like one underpaid alcoholic in a small dimly lit room trying to channel his best Franz Kafka impression, and he just couldn't get that writing gig off the ground, so he took this Loke job. And what a life that this man has, and now this is why we know things as certain names. Because either way, I bring this up because
the composer for the Resident Evil director's cut.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh god, that music! Oh Jesus Christ! Mansion Basement, best song ever written. Can't wait to see it on Capcom's rhythm game. But no, I bring this up because I think technology does play a lot into this, right? I mean, there are people who play these older games now for the first time in a purist perspective. Like they'll play Phantasy Star 1 completely blind.
Exactly.
They won't look at anything. They'll play the original Mega Drive or Master System card.
System Mark III.
Yeah, and I respect that a lot, but that's not for everybody, right?
Yeah, no. I agree with that. No.
And
you get the Sega Ages collection as well if you want. You can use that.
The Sega Ages collection fucking rips too. That version rules, but I don't think that either is the right way to play, right? Like you play how you want. There's no right way. And I think that alone makes games not age in a way.
Yeah.
Because you can look up a guide should you want to.
Nowadays, anyway, yeah.
Right, and that circumvents a lot of what we now consider bullshit in game design. And I feel like that goes a long way. That being said, I sat down and I played a lot of boomer. I almost actually you when you said Phantasy Star is one of the first JRPGs, is I could list like 50 before Phantasy Star.
It was one of the first that popularized.
Big commercial, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I didn't know. I know it's not. I know that, but it's one of the three big ones that popularized it.
I just really wanted
Dragon
to use
Quest,
the
Final
voice.
Fantasy, yeah.
But I say this because I went back and when we were playing Shining Force, I played a bunch of fucking boomer SRPGs, and I didn't finish a lot of them because they're arduous, right? And but I feel like that kind of sort of made me understand a little bit more about this as time has gone on, and it's a nuanced subject, and that's why I wanted to make it like a sort of subtopic, right? But like, how can developers make some of these older games more accessible? Is the Sega Ages thing the right answer?
That's where I think you're both wrong and right when it comes to things become aged and they age poorly. And there is not a more pertinent and more current example than GoldenEye. They Finally got it in 4K. It got online, but did they change anything about the controls? That's its biggest problem, and that's where the ability to continue further alongside community modulation is enhancement with technological advancement. And a lot of people stick to the purist crap. Now, I get it. You could be purist, but see, that's the thing. That's why the originals still exist. You can still use them. You can still
Right,
play
big on
exactly.
That statement.
So
I'm
like
big
if
on
you
that statement in particular, where it's like they still they're if you're not happy with that, then there's still something that you can go like Final Fantasy VII remake. I'm like, just go play Final
exactly.
Fantasy VII then.
Just
Like,
play the original. Like you don't like it, that's okay. The original didn't die. It's still there. So that's a great example. It's Fantasy Star 1. I fucking hate Bay Melee. I hate that dungeon.
yeah,
I have a
yeah.
sticker dedicated towards my hatred for it. This is the only time in the original 4 games that I almost rage quit because I fell not once, not twice, 3 fucking times. And I had no idea where I fell because there's
Yep.
that one part at the very top of the dungeon that drops you 2 whole floors. And there's no indication, there's no waypoint. It's all the same 4x4 cells. And if you fall once, even if you do know where you're going, and if you don't have the resources, you're kind of fucked.
Yep.
Because you have to get to the top, and then you have a whole nother battle waiting for you with that stupid dragon at the top. And then you have to get over to the air castle then afterwards. Then you can come back without having to worry about going through the entirety of Bay of Melee again. It's a pain in the ass. Now, you don't have that problem with the Sega Ages collection because you got a map. That changes everything. That changes everything. You can go in the dungeon knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
Knowing the knowledge that you can use trap with meow and fix all those little individual things you're used to doing already by that point. Now you could do the same thing with other games. Now a perfect example where you have that perfect meld. I mean, it's not an RPG, but you get old, bad, good, new, all the things. Mario Odyssey. Everything about that game was designed perfectly. It is a perfect game. You have the person that comes in, I only have 5 minutes to play. You can get a moon in that time. I'm a hard-ass gamer. I want to do something really cool. You see that stupidly obscure point halfway across the map, there's a pile of coins waiting for you, and that's challenging you to get to it. And you got the hard moons, too. You can get to it. It appeases everyone. It understands everything fundamentally about what made a game. And everyone can benefit from it. Young, old, boomer, or not. And the same can be applied
really
anywhere.
shows what Nintendo polish is still a thing that exists.
And
I feel like that game is such polish to a shine.
It's the ability to understand that you can keep your old game, but allow it to continue to progress alongside its predecessors. That allows it to stay in the current market. Like a perfect if I was to remake Phantasy Star 2, I would just flesh it out a bit more. Give it a map system so you don't have to actually have the maps that came with the cartridge, considering you're not going to normally get the whole thing in box now without paying your own fucking wallet. You need those maps, especially for the blue and green dams.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's another thing too, is that games back then, a lot of games, especially released in the West, came with supplementals. You know, like
you don't get them anymore.
You don't get that anymore. I mean, at least I feel like the trade-off there was just more tutorials, UX, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, okay, so here, and this is sort of a cringy devil's advocate question I'm going to ask you, but like, okay, so for the Sega Ages map system, right? That game, or that it fills it in as you go along. Right.
Yeah.
So it's not like you just get a free map and you just whatever and you follow. So all it's doing is just circumventing I guess like a
pain.
Yeah, a pain, like something that like you could easily do, but you know, whatever. And so that's what I love about that version. Like I'll definitely play that over the original in that sense, because I don't want to sit there and map out something because my handwriting is shit and I have vision problems. And so it's like whatever. So it makes it a lot easier.
That's why I couldn't either. I can't write a map.
I want to barely my own name for PSO1 or PS1.
yeah. And so, but the cringy devil's advocate question that I have there is like, where does that end, right? Like, auto battle, speeding up
Yeah.
battle, like those things I fucking that's why I play most games on an emulator, because I love speed up options, bro. I love going fast, but I hate Sonic the Hedgehog. So it's
Yeah.
just it's this funny dichotomy I find myself into.
You just became my soulmate.
And you know what,
Save
man?
it.
The you know what the problem with being faster than light is, Seth, is that you always live in
Always live in
darkness.
darkness.
and so but
So,
no, I mean, so yeah,
my
what does
counter
that
to
end?
that is pretty good though.
Mm.
Just give yourself to have the option. That's all
Word.
you need. You
Mhm.
don't you see that's the problem a lot of people don't seem to get. Just give them the option. It's don't mandate, but give them the option.
Right.
You can turn off the map. So you will always have those people that are like, just get good. Well, you can say that now, but now you can also say it with a factual statement. Did you turn on the auto map? Did you use the speed up feature? No? Then get good. Then you can say it with certification.
Right.
So you get all those people that want those quality of life options that I know that there's a certain person in the chat that loves them, but you don't need them. You can have them, but you don't need them. And that's something that most people can't comprehend. It's called a compromise. They exist. You can
Yep.
have it. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, the perfect example is Xenoblade 1, the definitive edition. A lot of people weren't perfectly happy with the new soundtrack. Good news. You could just turn on the old soundtrack at any time. Another great thing was that the Halo Definitive Edition, I think it was. I'm not a huge Halo fan, but I thought it was really awesome that at any time you could press a button and you could swap between old graphics and current graphics if you really felt the need for that nostalgia boner. That was really cool. That's awesome. Like on the fly, you can see without any hesitation or anything. There's no loading. Just immediate. You have old, new. That's pretty
It'd be
cool.
cool if they did that with Suikoden or one of the newer like
If
HD2G.
You say
HD2V
Suikoden wrong
things.
one or two more times, and I
Nope.
swear to God, I'm gonna shit my
Just
pants.
you wait,
Frank.
baby.
I'm gonna shit
We're gonna be
my
talking
pants
about
are gonna
lots
be
of that shit.
full of poo.
Swoken. I'm gonna start coming up with inventive ways to just make you mad about it.
Frank just made my light turn off.
Swokoden, that gotcha.
Yeah. But no, I think okay. So Mikhail brought up a really good.
I hope like a shadow doesn't like like something just pulls Joey back and the stream ends like.
But so he brought up a good point. He says supplemental quality of life features are great. They're not changing the game. They're changing what you might have to do to enjoy playing the game. And I kind of agree, but I will say that if random encounters are what's preventing you from enjoying playing a older RPG, if that's like the one thing that's doing it to you, maybe then consider
Don't play RPGs.
Yeah, right. Like, I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. And I like that being said.
Yeah, it's fucking hard to deal with that because that in its own thing is its own like crux within the entirety of the RPG community. How much is too much of our random encounters? Is one step too much?
Yes. Yeah.
Little more.
Yeah, I can say from experience on the show.
But even then, like
Frank gets it a lot.
You got so many people that are like, I can't take this. It's every other step, and I'll be playing. It's like, but like it was not. It was like maybe every now and then, and I had like a whole 10 minutes just like, where the fuck's all the monsters? What's going on? But it's kind of equivocally what makes it RNG. It's random.
Right, random.
It's
yeah.
random.
I agree that like
it's like there.
It's nuanced too because you go into there are definitely RNG systems for encounters that are just broken or really shitty.
Yeah. It's the gambler's fallacy though. It's the gambler's fallacy. Eventually you're like, what's the next step? It's another thing. Yeah, but that doesn't mean it is. Like it's just that simple.
But I bring this up because it's like, okay, I know this isn't what Mikhail meant necessarily. I just like kind of like analyzing these things. But like to me, it's like turning random encounters off makes me enjoy the game more sometimes because the way I like to play is like I don't like to grind unless I absolutely have to. right?
Yeah, that's
Or
why
if I'm
Phantasy Star 4 is one of my favorites. The grind is perfect from start to finish. You don't have to. You just play.
totally, exactly. And I think a really good example, and somebody brought this up in the chat, is like FF7, right? Turning off encounters in FF7 is fantastic because it just saves time. It's not like going through a cave full of level 1 enemies who are going to be absolutely nothing to you. They might take off 4
It's just
HP.
loading screens and
It's
animations
just
at that
loading
Yeah.
time.
screens and
Like,
animations, and so yeah, it circumvents that design and helps you enjoy it more. But again, it kind of like, I feel like you just always have to play that juggling act between uh purity and whatever. So I think if you're trying to say like, oh, I will not play this game because it has random encounters, I think that kind of
Well,
sucks, like, and it's like,
there's two contingencies that exist within the genre. Pokemon has one of them. Repels.
yes,
I like if you manage to imply create that mechanic in other JRPGs and you make it so that's immersive, you have something pretty damn good there. Because Pokemon's the only game I know that's done that. You just
it's SMT.
put your strongest guy in front. Oh, does it have it? Okay, so there you go.
Not
So
to
like,
the same level, but it's a similar
but
Whoa, hello.
it's a pretty good mechanic. Like you don't feel like dealing with this shit right now, so you just spray yourself with some fuck off repellent, and they don't bother you.
Right.
And
Okay. So
the but there's one other one too, and this one's more controversial. Instead of a random encounters, just flood the map with physical enemies. I kind of like that. I kind of don't, because you get Xenoblade 1, which is really good with that. You have a pretty immersive expansion of enemies, so they're not clusterfucking it. And then you have 3, which is there's not much map, but there sure is a fuck ton of enemies encounters. Holy crap! To the point where it turned the Switch to a standstill at points.
yeah, and so okay. So here's the thing about, I'm gonna call this the repel phenomenon. But like, okay, so if, because I do this all the time in Pokemon. In Pokemon, I always have a big old stack of repels. And then at that point, it's like, then why is there not just a slider, right? Like, I start
mhm.
to go down that slope, man. I start to think,
Eventually, whatever the item for, like, that eventually you hit the point where the amount of cost for it is inconsequential to how
yeah, it's
much
like
you gain. So,
negligible.
like you said, that's when you end up where you have a stack of 50 repels. You're never going to run out, and then it no longer becomes like, do I spend some resources in order to maybe safely get through an area with less random encounters, and more of a, like you said, it's basically just a switch at that point. And why not just give us a switch then?
Yeah,
Right. And so
it's
yeah,
hard.
yeah, it's a clumsy balance, I think, sometimes. And when you're
Yeah.
talking about on map encounters, so I think this is a really good point about getting into classic RPGs, because there are a lot of classic RPGs that do have map encounters. And
Yep.
a really good example. Here's my agenda. Saga, Romancing
Yes, I
Saga
was
one
I
through
was like,
three.
say it.
Say it. Say it.
Another gameplay,
Say
another
it.
lobster.
And so Romancing Saga 1 is one of the, I think, one of the earliest like 90s JRPGs that had encounters like that, where they're
Yeah.
on the map and blah blah blah. But the problem is that they're a fucking mess. They're like ants. They're fucking everywhere. You can't avoid them most of the time, blah blah blah. And so it's a mess. I'll take random encounters over that. Romancing Saga 2 got way better with it, and Romancing Saga 3 is an even bigger improvement. Uh, Another really good example of this: Lunar Silver Star Complete and Eternal Blue. So in Lunar Silver Star and Eternal Blue for Sega CD, there were random encounters, and as Frank knows very intimately,
Jesus fucking Christ.
sometimes you literally, like, he would get into a battle, take a step, get into another battle full of a bunch of jobber frogs who don't pose any threat to him whatsoever.
God, I hope we find those sprites again when we have Mark.
Yeah, love them. But so the remake put on map encounters. The problem is that they're super hard to avoid, right? To the point where they sometimes block off paths. And
Yeah.
when you
Yeah, you might as well just have something standing in one space where you can't go around them at that point. Like,
right.
I was gonna say in that if it has on screen encounters, I like some way of like interacting with that. Like a generic, like a sword strike or something, and the enemies take some damage or you get to go first. Something like that lets you like interact with them on the overworld, I think really makes that system a lot more attractive, at least to me.
100%. And I have a really good question because we are kind of running down a little bit on time now. I do want to ask you a question, Frank, and Seth. I'll also pass this to you. What is a game, a classic RPG, if you will, and that could mean anything, right? When I was saying that in quotes just to be kind of facetious, but what is a classic RPG that you think could be either brought to a modern console or just an experience that you can have with it that would greatly enhance your experience? And I'm asking this because like Suikoden is getting the remaster, we're getting Tactics Ogre remastered, etc.
Suikoden, okay, yeah, that one. Swoken.
Swoken, yeah.
I think I
Swoken.
would love I would love to see Earthbound get like some like Link's Awakening style remake style like visuals, or even if they went heavy into like the claymation or something like that. I think that Earthbound is a game with a little bit of tweaking, especially with that like early game difficulty. And I feel like it's the kind of game that has, because of Smash and a lot of other things, it has people who know about it who haven't played the games and stuff. And I think that would be a great way to make that older, a little bit, that can be obtuse and off-putting to some, a lot more attractive to modern, newer JRPG audiences. Holy shit.
The thing with it's just hard for me to get. I have subject bias against Earthbound. It's too bizarre. It's just too much of a cult classic, unfortunately. I liked it. It's just not enough that I could ever recommend it to somebody. Like, it's, for me, the best thing about Earthbound was it's just designed as like the young boy's first RPG. It has everything a young boy would like snot, belches, farts, a heartfelt story. But that's just not gonna it's not gonna appeal to the broader audience. I personally think just most of it's the thing that just the cult classic that loves it so much will get.
I think the problem is that you're assigning a gender with an experience. That's
it's my own. I mean, it's my own personal experience.
Right.
I played in the dirt, so yeah, I played in the dirt. So, but with that in mind, of course I'm gonna plug the original Phantasy Stars because you got New Genesis. You got everybody liking Final Fantasy 14 right next to them. They play it hand in hand. They're both together. And everyone that plays both of them hand in hand, they know they played the original Final Fantasies. Hey, by the way, did you know that Phantasy Star started out in 1987 on the Master System? They're JRPGs. They're classic. You can play them. Oh my god, really cool. They're only available in the boomer consoles. Port them to the Switch and give them some gloss. It'll be great. It'll look great. Yeah. Oh, awesome. Please?
Sega Ages 2 or Phantasy Star 2 would do really well. So
they tried it. Generations 1 and 2.
Yeah. Oh god, that's true. That's literally Sega Ages. That's unfortunate. But so okay, my biggest problem with the Sega Ages PS1 is that it locks the game to either it's like the very easy mode on the PS2 version. And so like I don't like that at all. I kind of wish that had more of a slider or something, like the way that
recreate them, make them new. Yeah. Do it. I don't care. That's what I'm saying. Like everyone's doing it. Capcom made Resident Evil 2 into a theatrical masterpiece. It's still crazy. Final Fantasy. They turned Final Fantasy 7 into a 4-part series. The fuck? How? But it doesn't matter. The first one's already sounding like shit. It's like, what the hell? You got all those people playing gacha that are starved for story in NGS, but you have some content you already have. Just polish it. It's okay. You can even outsource it. Everyone fucking outsources it. Doesn't matter. People are starved for content. You can just do it. It'll be great. That's all they have to do is just make new stuff.
With the old stuff.
With the old stuff.
See, okay, I'm of a different mind on this. I think that they should just port games with emulator function. So
that works too.
And that's like Phantasy Star 2, right? You port that game over, with 3 times speed, uh, maybe save states. Why not?
You have it.
And
You just have to cheat with sheer, but
yeah,
Celestialka, so you could just skip the middleman and just give it to you from the get-go.
right.
'Cause
That's true. Yeah. So it
you
is
already
actually
you already
something you
have
can
it with
do.
that. Yeah,
Right. It is something that's like technically built into the
it's
game.
you already had it in Fantasy Star 1. You had 5 at any given time. I don't know why they removed that. It's kind of stupid.
Yeah. So like that's always my thing, and I'm not against remakes or remasters or anything. I think that's really cool. I really liked Saga Frontier remastered because it changed aspects of the game and it added some stuff, and even Legend of Mana remastered was really cool because it smoothed out a couple things and brought the you didn't have to have a FF8 save on your card to get some stuff,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of good in remasters. I think the Skoku Hoiden 1 and 2 remaster is gonna
Goku Hoenn,
Skoku
holy shit.
Koden, yeah, Skoku Koden.
Should I like spell it phonetically in the
Yeah.
title for if we ever did it on the show? Like...
The Sayu Kiden.
yeah.
So I think the Suikoden remaster is gonna have a lot of that has potential to be really cool because especially if it's something where you can turn off the new shit. I really enjoy that, and I think that adds a lot. But I do think that developers should be pushing more toward they're doing more efforts to bring old games in their original format to
Yeah,
modern consoles without people having
with
to
the
emulate.
the bit of paint.
And you know what? Honestly, though, if they're not going to do it, that's not going to fucking happen. So
Yeah.
Looks like they'll never.
You
touch
have to
Xenogears.
emulate.
I would love for them to touch Xenogears, but they'll never touch that game again.
Oh, we're never gonna get Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Switch.
oh yeah, but to be
It's
fair,
gonna be locked to the Wii U forever.
yeah, to be fair, that's there's okay. Also, that despite what I just said, there are a lot of logistics that go into these kind of things,
Yeah, I know.
licensing
Of course
rights,
there
and
Yeah,
and so I feel like that is a big
it is.
obstacle for sure. But I do think that developers and not developers, because I'm sure developers would love to do it. Game companies,
Yeah, the publishers.
right, would be the boardroom of like 6 dystopian old man executives just plotting how to bleed money from people could all just agree that this is the way to move forward, which is never going to happen. But
Nope.
yeah, sadly, that's why I always say if you want to play a game, fucking emulate it. Have no qualms about it. Don't even think about it. Just fucking do it. If you want to own the game physically, I get that because I collect physically too. That's why I have all this shit and why I have a giant box full of stuff that I don't even touch. But like that being said, if I want to play something, I'm playing Valkyrie Profile 1, right? I have the disc. I don't want to fucking boot up my PlayStation. I don't want to have to worry about my disc getting fucked. Like literally, if you think about a scratch on that disc, there's a chance it won't load because it's like super layered, and things like that. I don't have to worry about them anymore. If I wanted to
You
play,
sneeze, the jewel case will crack.
right. I used to be very much like, no, you play in the fucking original, and then I grew up and became a real person. So like. It's like if you want to play a game, play it. If you want to play a game however you want to play it, play it. Don't get mad at the game, though, for not giving you things that, especially older games, nowadays,
exactly.
It's different. Like I bitch about accessibility in modern games all the time because I think there's a lot of stuff that developers could
Day
do.
one patch.
Which, I mean, I get it. I get it why that happens, right?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. That's why with the premium, all the games we released are all like fully patched and everything. That kind of shit sucks for when there's like the game on the disc or cartridge or whatever is like total. It's a total mess and it needs a day one patch to even be like half playable. It's such a shame to see that kind of shit because the bugs and the jank is preserved, not the game that it was actually meant to be.
Right. And man, it's like this is such a cool discussion to me because I feel like you go down the historic line and then there's so many aspects of production and financial things and resources that go into all this kind of stuff. that I don't think a lot of people talk. Everyone always says,
They don't. I'll
"Oh,
tell you,
let's
they don't.
let's bring Shining Force 3 over." Yeah, that'd be awesome. Like that'd be fucking awesome, dude. But
Yeah.
like, you have to do it and it costs a lot of
Mother
money.
3, shit like that.
Yeah.
Something
Oh,
with
yeah.
With the Mother series, with like all the music stuff. Like, there's so much.
You don't need to worry about the music. Just the
stuff they
plot
gotta fuck
alone,
with.
you won't ever
Oh
fly.
yeah, Nazis.
Well, that's why. That's
Dude,
why
we really
they'll never
allow
touch
Nazis.
Xenogears, bro.
Yeah.
Like Xenogears is like, you know what fucking sucks? Religion. Like and like it sucks, guys. Like these people suck.
Do you
But yeah, no,
imagine people understanding man gypsies? Mother 3 today.
Yeah, 100%, exactly. Like it wouldn't fly.
Nah.
Twitter would cancel fucking.
Nintendo would be dead in the water, at least on public social media.
Yeah, no, the pig Nazis alone, I think, would offend
Yeah,
a
that
lot
too.
of people in the
shit.
South.
I forgot.
A lot of people, it would just really offend actual Nazis, and we can. And as the American government has proven time and time again, we can't do that. So,
Right.
yeah. But yeah, no, I think I think that's a good kind of talking point to sort of wrap up with, man. I mean, like, we set a pay, or I guess expectations for what we particularly want in the future with these games, and I think it's literally just Shining Force 3. Can I speak for everybody here and say that? but yeah, sorry, I don't mean to cut off so abruptly. I've just been trying to end these around the same time because I feel like this is a topic that could go on forever. That being said,
when I would normally raid you, right? Right
yeah,
about that
around
time?
this is raid time. So thank you guys for joining me. Obviously, I really appreciate you guys jumping on. Once we kind of get a bigger idea of like who we want to, what we want to do with this format, we can do more with it. But for now, we're just doing new people every week for a couple weeks to try to get new people on the channel and get some fresh faces, so some more grist,
Fresh meat
for the cerulean
with
skies.
some fucking gristle.
But yeah, if you guys are in fact interested in joining and hanging out with us, please fucking join the Discord. I'll put a link in just a second. Frank, what about you, man? You want to do the plug thing?
Boom! I had it on the copy paste, ready to go. Super RPG friends, baby! Every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Join me, Joey, John, and a rotating cast of wonderful characters, guests, and more. We have everything from content creators, speedrunners, and all kinds of stuff coming on, sharing their experiences, and helping us to tackle some of the greatest games of all time. We're finishing up Lunar, the Silver Star, here very shortly, within the next 2 weeks. And then from there, we're actually moving on to our Season 3, which is going to be PlayStation 1. It's starting with Final Fantasy 7, so that's going to be really exciting to do all of that. And then other than that, let me drop the premium stuff in there as well. I do some streams on premium edition games as well. But yeah, if you guys have any kind of interest in Nintendo Switch or just collecting in general, we also do a lot of book stuff. We just released the Kickstarter just went live for the Switch Collector Volume 2 Part 2. That just went today. And then we're doing a Direct soon, which is kind of like a Nintendo Direct, but for our company. So a lot of really awesome stuff on that, on both horizons, honestly. Really exciting time to be doing some of the stuff that I'm doing. So if you guys have any interest, we'd love to see you there. Stop into the stream. Our Discord's a lot of fun as well. They're all in the link trees.
I will say something. I ordered 2 games from Premium Edition, and I don't like saying like, "Oh, check out my friend's thing. They do this thing," without ever doing it myself. And I will say, like, full disclosure, I'm not a huge fan of Premium Edition's lineup as a whole. It has some good games and some games I don't care about, but their packaging is fucking amazing. It, like, I'm saying this on stream, I don't give a shit. It makes limited run look like shit.
Oh.
Uh,
Well,
and again, like not my favorite games ever, but they're solid games. I enjoy it. So I just got
I
Cathedral and
buy from Limited Run.
Phoenotopia. I do too. I just there's a
Oh,
lot of
same.
there's a lot of things there that it was a loaded statement, but it's a gun I fired regardless. Anyway, Seth, what about you, man? Let's bring the plug in.
Oh, well, if you're interested in seeing more updates about the website that's coming about, and if you ever want to come around and talk about Fantasy Star or learn all sorts of obscure, crazy crap, you can just join the mansion. You can join it at our fancy old Discord link.
Oh yeah. There it is. There it is. There's the link. Hell yeah. I'm in the Esper Mansion. I think Frank is too. It's a good time.
Yep.
Really good people in there.
Oh yeah.
Pop the Weasel, I remember talking to you on there quite a bit when I was playing through 3 and 4. So really nice place. I found some people to play PSO 1 with on there. It rules. So hell yeah, check that out.
Game ever.
Hell yeah. It's top 3, probably top 3 or 5 for me. It's fucking awesome. But yeah, so anyway, like I said, all Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, we're doing this podcast. We'll have the VODs and the audio and the stuff up on all the podcast hosting sites, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that kind of stuff. And if you like talking about RPGs or games in general, you could join this Cerulean Skies Discord if you want to ever do some content with us, whether it be hosting your own thing, joining as a guest, hanging out with your best buds and talking about why it's important to not aerate your milk too much. That's what Cerulean Skies is there for, man. It's
Hanging
sort of
out with your chooms.
with you.
I recommend it. They're quite fun over there. I wish I could have more time to spend over there. I'm too busy trying to steal people to the mansion. But it's tons of fun over there.
That's I appreciate that, man. That's the ever-loving struggle.
Crazy how much talk you got over there
Thanks
for how many
stopping
people
by,
you got
Lord.
there.
And thanks for stopping by, everybody. Usually, I do make a big thing about like interacting with the chat. I try to keep it a little bit to the minimum compared to something like Super RPG Friends because it is sort of a podcast and a discussion. But I try to bring in as much as I can. So I hope you guys had fun. Thank you guys so fucking much for joining me. Thanks, chat, for hanging out.
Thanks for having.
Yeah, anytime, man.
Yeah.
Take care, and we're gonna be shooting a raid over to Mr. Venacor in just a second here.
Oh fuck yeah! Awesome.
And as
These good
as Frank
people.
and I always do in Super RPG Friends, we'll do this for here too. We'll do a little Fuzzy Pickles. I know you're not a big
That's-
Earthbound fan, but you got to do it, Seth. You're on the pet. You know what's a Pokemon thing too. You're fine.
I'll smile and say
Yeah.
Fuzzy Pickles.
All right. Well,
Fuzzy
just
Pickles,
a little.
baby.
There you go. All right. 3, 2, 1. Fuzzy Pickles.
Fuzzy
Fuzzy
Pickles.
Pickles, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Hey. And
Hey.
stream.
Hey.